Welcome to the Frontline Innovation Podcast, the voice of problem solvers. Innovation isn't just about ideals. It's about dismantling the barriers that stand between people and the solutions they actually need. This is where real human problems collide with real-world constraints, where innovators don't chase hype. They study people, break problems apart, and build solutions that actually work. Because the hardest part of innovation isn't creating something new. It's building useful fixes to people's problems and getting it into their hands. Each episode, we go inside that journey with leaders, designers, builders, and problem solvers doing the hard, often invisible work of making innovation real. I'm your host, William Reed. Let's get to work dismantling human problems. Today, on the Frontline Innovation Podcast, I'm joined by two powerhouse revenue leaders who know what it takes to turn strategy into real, measurable growth. Brooke is a seasoned revenue leader with over 2 decades of experience, from solo ventures to Fortune 100 giants like Verizon, ADP, and BigCommerce. She is known for building high-performing teams and engineering go-to-market strategies that win. And Shar is a revenue-generating force, bringing nearly 20 years of experience across entrepreneurship, SaaS consulting, and corporate leadership. She combines data, psychology, and process to help teams consistently drive results and scale with intention. In this episode, we unpack what it really takes to align people, process, and performance to drive revenue in today's complex landscape. How you ladies been doing in the last couple of weeks?
We've been fantastic. It's been a busy beginning of the year for us, and I know for you too. We've seen all your updates about getting things launched and getting started, so congrats, you made it.
Thank you. Almost there.
Yeah.
I think I'm at the finish line with my 20 task list, but then my 20 becomes 40, then becomes 60.
Yeah.
It's
and
never
grow subtasks and subtasks of the subtasks. Yeah, we know.
We should ban all tasks.
I can't live without my task manager. We actually implemented a system for ourselves internally, just a very basic system of like collaborating, because it's so easy for the tiny little minute things to just fall through the cracks. And having a management system where you know you are not dropping the ball anywhere, the level of freedom that creates for my brain is like, I will live and die by that task manager now.
Just along the task manager doesn't start giving you orders.
It's no. The Scrum Master in our business is the one who actually does that.
AKA Brooke.
Brooke literally is our Scrum Master. We will meet weekly and look at what we were looking to accomplish, and then we'll literally meet daily and go through and divide and conquer tasks.
I know. You get the drinks, you get the food, you bring the music, you bring the balloons.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
Exactly.
I like that. Well, it's going to be fun today. So, innovation conversation.
Love it.
All different aspects. So the way I cut it, it makes it easy just to make it smooth and transition. Cool. So I want to talk about the official. We have begun and started the Frontline Innovation Podcast. Prepare. Awesome. So I'd like to do a little warm up here. So I used to, I don't know if you guys have read the book, The Design of Everyday Things.
No.
Ooh. So it's a very, Don Norman, he's into UX and design. He wrote a book about these everyday items that we interact with and how it can be very difficult. And he has a lot of examples on the door, the design of a door. And a thousand different designs of like, do you push it? Do you pull it? How do you operate it? And it's very confusing. So he gets into like the human aspects of how do we interface with our environment. So he goes into that. That inspired me for our warm-ups here. So I want to ask both of you, Shar and Brooke. So this could be a solution that someone has already built. It can be a thing. It could be a service. It can be an experience. So obviously we got the example of the door. remote control, microwave, or it could just be that cool service when you onboard a new client and they say, hey, that onboarding process was smooth or it was kludgy. So I'm going to ask both of you, do you have an example of something that you love, 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 hate, or you kind of on the fence and like, you know what, if I can give some feedback to the person who built this thing, the feedback would be blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to start with you first, Shar, and see what you have on mind.
Yeah. I Trader Joe's. Love Trader Joe's. When compared to having the experience of walking into a Trader Joe's store, if you've ever been in one versus another grocery store, what I love is number one, it incorporates all the senses. Before you even walk in, there are beautiful flowers outside. As you walk in, the experience that you're getting is floral. The way that it's designed, it creates the traffic of like checking in and how you go into the store versus checkout different. So the flow of traffic feels good. The way that their products are laid out, for me, I love going to their skincare section and looking at all of their skincare and the beautiful products that they have at great prices is what I associate Trader Joe's with. So it's just like the simplicity, the beauty, and the feeling like you're literally in some sort of like a market experience when in reality it's just a grocery store. But it's not the same feeling as walking into, let's say, a Walmart where I associate fluorescent like lights and a lot of like the dark blue that's coming in. The senses for me are the experience about Trader Joe's that I love.
Ooh, I like that one. Ooh.
I would actually layer onto that.
Yeah.
Shar and I, in business and friendship and everything else, have very different and unique perspectives on the same things. And we actually were chatting about Trader Joe's recently and kind of pulling the things out that pull us in. So if you listen to the things she said, it's very experiential, emotional, sense driven. For me, I'm like, I love the strategy behind your seasonal products that are gonna come and go. So there's almost a feeling of it being limited or scarce where I have to buy 2 of them if it's something that I really like, because I know that at the end of the season, they're going to change it to something else. I love the handwritten signs that they have around the store instead of things being printed. I love that the people are, dressing like people in your everyday life, that it's not like some special uniform, and they're warm and they're friendly. But on the flip side, they haven't solved for everything, in my opinion. I don't know if I'm just really amazing at picking Trader Joe's or if all the ones I've gone to are the only ones in this category, but their parking lots are literal chaos. Every single one I've been to, like some of the worst parking lots in America. And because it's such a small footprint, which can be beneficial in a bunch of ways, but if you're there on a super busy day, I get like the Costco overwhelmed feeling where I'm like, oh my gosh, like you can't even move. I want to see the thing over there, but there's like 6 people between me and the thing.
Yes.
So they do a lot well, but there's still opportunity there, I think, too.
Oh, I love this example. And that kind of leads us really into kind of the essence of innovation and then the people who actually go out to innovate. So we like to kind of start with really the people out there. I know you're probably sitting in a coffee shop sometimes and you overhear some conversations from some people. And then you might go home and hear some more conversations. And then you're in front of a client and hear some more conversation. And at some point, you may start to determine that there's a pattern going on here. And there's a certain level of frustration that we all have as humans, right? Normal. But then there's an excess layer above that where it's like, I think there might be something here. There's a unmet need. There's some frustration. There are challenges that are not being met with what's out there in the market today. So obviously people have a problem. They just go out, take the credit card out, go and buy a solution, go fix it. So let's start talking about from innovation. Let's start off with the people who hear something or see something out there in the world and say, I'm going to go do that. So what is that mindset to say, you know what, this thing is really annoying me. It's annoying the people in my lives. I can't go find a solution for it. You know what? I think I might go do it. So let's talk about the person themselves who take on this cape of like, I'm a problem solver and eventually I need to go do something about it?
I feel like those are entrepreneurs and a lot of business owners, and they're actually a lot of our clients. So we work predominantly with executives, business owners, really high achieving people, former special ops folks that are just driven to solve problems. And it's exactly that personality type. The problem could be a physical location and they're trying to solve for something in the flow of traffic. The problems that we often come up that these folks are trying to solve for is, how do I get to my customer as quickly as possible? How do I reduce friction in the amount of clicks that their customers have so their buying process is a lot easier for their end consumer, even though they are my consumer? So often the personality type that we see is a few different functions. Some of those people are very technical and very structured and procedural driven people, where they come in and they go, ooh, here's the problem. Here's the structures that go through it. Some of those folks are visionaries, and the way that they look at something is, what does the end goal look like? What does the ideal look like? I'm here. The ideal is, out there. How do I get from point A to point B? Not so structured, but really being able to see that end result. Those are a lot of the personalities that we deal with. And if I had to say they have one thing in common, is that they're problem solvers and they are growth oriented. You cannot be a problem solver, not be growth oriented, because growth oriented people are constantly, whether it's a personal, a professional, a structural problem, when they see problems, it is now their duty to solve it. So they don't walk around, see a problem and announce it. They see a problem and they say, it's mine, I'm going to fix it, or I'm going to take ownership of it and I'm going to delegate it to the team.
Oh, and we definitely need those because we got a lot of problems in the world.
True.
Yeah. So the people who put the cape on and say, I'm going to solve this problem. And I think when people hear the word innovation and innovators and entrepreneurship, sometimes it's this aspect of it. It has to involve technology. So I love your earlier example of Trader Joe, right? Because it's not necessarily something where it's new tech or emerging technology, smartphone, AI, or anything like that. And I think sometimes we get caught in this trap where you see people who are trying to solve problems with more technology, and then you go to their house and it's sitting on the shelf, and it's like, I don't think that was the right approach. So let's talk about innovation in the broader term, right? Because people think it's only introducing new technologies. How do you think about it when I say the word innovation? What comes to your mind?
As our very structured team member, for me, what comes up is you have to go deep on a problem to truly solve it. You can't decide you're going to solve 10 problems at once. So first, it has to make it to the top of your priority list of all of the problems that you're out there collecting. And then you have to commit to learning about it, evaluating all of your options, and putting together a realistic plan that you can hold yourself accountable for executing on. Because I can go buy 10 softwares, but if I don't configure all of them to my business, my ICP, my industry, how I want to use it, how I want to show up in the market, how I want it to talk to my other systems, it's not going to do anything for me. It's the time to commit to go deep on something that actually makes it innovative for you. Otherwise, it's just another tool on the shelf.
Yeah, the technology industry, we call that shelfware. So we have very, very large corporations who spend millions of dollars, multiple years, and then you go in, it's like, how come you guys aren't using that? Oh, and they list all these reasons. Like, that was a lot of waste of money. I think people think it's a simple $20 Best Buy item, but sometimes it could be $10 million, $20 million, thousands of hours of waste.
We've seen both.
Yes.
We have seen both.
And I think it kind of points out that some people may be jumping out there to build a solution and shipping it before they really understand the problem. So when we talk about innovation on the front line, we talk about kind of meeting people where they are to kind of understand where this frustration's happening. Why can't they just configure this thing and you observe it and like, oh, there's something wrong with the interface. Oh, the screen is too small. The verbiage is blurry. Something wrong with the instructions. We really need to observe people in their environment to understand what's the problem, what's the potential things that have been tried before. So let's dive in now to this understanding of the problem. I like to call it taking the problem apart. One, to see if we can even address it. If we can address it, can we build something that's like affordable, right? It doesn't make sense to build $1 million solution and nobody can actually pay for it. So when you guys think about, you got a lot of people coming to you for your business. Like when they come into your office, you have these calls, let's start to talk about, slowing down here and really understanding what's the nature of the problem here. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. The approach that we have is very holistic because there truly is, like, when we think about innovation, we do think about problem solving, and problem solving first requires the data that Brooke was just talking about, taking everything in. And that data can come from systems, it can come from the market, it can come from the physical door, making a screeching noise. It can be anything that is like the overarching problem. But we also look at the people side of it too. I can't tell you the amount of times that we'll walk away from a call and go, ooh, that strategy will not work for that personality type. Like, this person doesn't have either the skills, the personality, the comfort zone yet to go and implement that specific solution. So as we're thinking about solutions and execution, we're thinking about the holistic. What market are you in? Who are the people that are actually at your company that are in charge of executing this? What is their experience? What are their strong suits? What are their opportunities for growth? We probably know the sleep schedule of the majority of people we work with, because let's say we give you the $10 million solution to your problem. But if you are having a lot of dysregulation show up in your life because you're stressed, or there's a physical part of just being a human and you haven't slept for a week, I don't care how smart you are, I don't care how motivated you are, that's going to create dysfunction in your life that then leads and bleeds into the business or the problem that you're trying to solve. And often we find that, and the more intellectual somebody is, one of the biggest pitfalls of brand new innovators that we see, especially the ones that are not very structured and they don't have a lot of experience, they're starting out, maybe they were the best at whatever the thing is that they did at their actual previous company, but they've never ran a business before. They start with here's the problem, here's the solution. In the next 3 years, I'm going to do this, and then we're going to exit and we're going to be bought out. And they'll have this plan of like 0 through 10 that they've devised. But in reality, the way innovation works isn't go and plan something, take the $10 million solution, ship it out to the world, and then realize that no one's actually utilizing it. There wasn't adoption and you just wasted $10 million. It's come up with a plan. What does step 0 through 3 look like? Go do those things in order, because as a function of that, often you find out that the data points that you're getting directly from the market are not exactly what you thought of. And the market is a living, breathing thing that changes all the time. If I went back to 2019 and went to the smartest business analysts at the beginning of 2019, I guarantee there are very few, if not anyone, that would have been like, you know what, actually in the next year, there's going to be this gigantic pandemic and the entire market conditions are going to change. But folks who were 2 or 3 steps ahead and had the strategy of data comes in, I analyze miniature data, I make another move. Now I look at that data, I analyze that, now I make an adjustment. That's really, I would say, the strategy that we use with clients, because those tiny little minute 1% changes are the things that actually drive execution and results.
It's also interesting to understand the scope of the problem, how large it is. So it may be that no one wants to actually pay for the entire solution, but maybe some symptoms or subsections of the problem. So if you can tell me I can pick up something from the shelf and then help me with 3 symptoms, and you find out people are willing to pay for it, that's worth getting involved in. But, so we have some idealistic, like, I'm going to build the entire thing. It's going to take 2 years to implement. It's going to be a multi-step process. It's going to solve your problem. And they put it out there and they get frustrated. It's like, wow, you guys don't want to sign up for 2 years? And the competitor's like, I'm going to take care of this person's problem because they have an itch right now. When they take this, it's going to help them right now. So let's go do that. So let's talk about, you can't solve everything all at one time. And then that's what the beauty of what technology and software is. We have these releases and roadmaps, which customers love, right? Although they love the features to be faster. But let's talk about this incrementally tackling certain problems and saying sometimes, you know what, we're going to tackle 10% of the problem. This is going to be our niche right here. We're happy with that.
Yeah, I love that because it's surprising how many people we chat with in our business that we work with who have never spoken to who they think their ideal customer is, to ask, like, what is your day actually like? What are the problems you're running into? Like, give me a day in the life. What's your calendar look like? What are the problems you're solving? Like, so if it worked this way, how does that feel for you? If it worked that way, how does that feel for you? How would you stack rank those problems? Which one's the most important? If there was a product that solved this problem, but not these other problems, would you still be interested in it? Or would it have to include this thing as well? Would you pay for it? How much would you pay for it? If I offered you the opportunity now to pay 10% of that to pre-sign up for it, would you do that? You get so much information from those conversations with real people that you think you're going to sell to, because the assumptions people make are really what they find online, where there just isn't a ton of substance in what you can read in something that's pre-written versus actually having a conversation with somebody and realizing when you bring up this topic, their eyes lit up in a different way, right? You're not getting that when you're doing research online. So I do think a lot of products that make it very far in the market do start with one small problem that they're solving, and then they build on that thing. And that's a better strategy than trying to build all of it, because you need to understand how people are going to use it, and it's going to be different than you're going to imagine it, probably wildly different.
And I think sometimes people get surprised at what somebody will actually pay for. What's the little sponge thing?
Scrub Daddy?
Yes.
Love Scrub Daddy.
Yes.
Love Scrub Daddy.
So there's no too simple of a problem to go attack, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now we have some very large companies out there who want to solve it all the time. And I think, Shar, you might have mentioned this before, but you can tell early on, they're not built, either the personality, the structure, the culture to actually successfully implement this solution. So I know it's a hard thing, when you're out there and you can close the sale, but it's like, you just know they're not going to fix the problem that they want to get fixed because they cannot execute on it. And it might require different options. So talk about this challenge that, you have out there when you're listening and a person's really locked in on this particular solution and you realize it's not going to work for them. So how do you guys navigate that?
It depends on their experience level. So if we're working with, let's say, a CRO that's like experienced, they've been, in some sort of revenue generating roles for 20 plus years, normally we can be very blunt and we can say, ooh, that strategy is not going to work, and here's the reasons why. If it is a newer entrepreneur, normally it's a more delicate conversation because the person that has to take their life savings or, take a shot at something, they have a really big dream and a vision. And that's the thing that's making them wake up day in, day out and go out there and normally get their butts handed to them by the world, but still wake up and like hold truth to that dream. So it's a delicate balance of holding that dream and actualizing it, going through and saying, okay, this is our end goal and this is the ideal. And for that personality type, it's actually structuring it down because they're imagining what step 10 looks like. So then when we go all the way back to like step 0 to 1, we give them a few tests. One of those tests Brooke just went through, which is validating or invalidating an idea. One of the things we find is often brand new entrepreneurs will spend years thinking they're doing a thing when they could have validated that idea within a matter of weeks to months. So that's what we actually do is in those instances, if they are really tied to the strategy and they are the type of person that needs to experience it themselves, we'll give them some homework to do. And sometimes the homework is go talk to 10 people and do informational interviews, because then you can see where their eyes light up. Then you can see if your solution actually works in the market. And based on that feedback, entrepreneurs are normally smart enough people, and innovators are lovely problem solvers where they come back and they go, ooh. And so they kind of see it themselves. if we are proposing a solution directly into a larger company, and we've got, pre-seed companies that we will work with all the way to Fortune 300 companies that we've worked with as logos. And you would think companies where they are generating billions and billions of dollars don't have the same issues, but they do. They have structural issues, they have organization issues, they have capacity issues, they have personnel issues. So when we are thinking of a strategy, we are taking into account what are the actual resources, what does the market look like, what does their business unit, their goals look like, who are the people in there that are implementing the solutions, what is their state of experience, what is literally their actual nervous system capacity. Like if we come in, we do a lot of turnaround projects and we come in and those teams are burnt out. When there's a team that's burnt out, I can come up with the best strategy ever, but that's not going to move the needle. So again, it's that holistically looking at all of it and building a strategy that is not only the best strategy for the problem, but the best strategy for the executors that are in charge of solving that problem. Otherwise, incredible strategies where you can go and have all these consulting firms give you like 20, 30 page documents without somebody that can truly execute that. We go back to the $20 product that costs $10 million to sit on the shelf and do nothing.
Yeah, it's funny because you actually look at like the procurement process, especially for larger organizations.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the disconnect between the person who's going to use the tech, the group going to use it, and the people who actually buy in, and people evaluating the governance structure, the due diligence. There's so many different pieces inside this process. I think people are surprised, like, well, procurement liked the pricing and they got a great deal on it. Well, how did they get the great deal? They knocked 10% off the top three people who bidded on it. Well, how did they do that? They lowered the price somehow. Did they take anything out? I think they may have took some training out. No big deal. The price is good. Whole different story when you start to think about, are you going to actually solve the problem with this? So if you take the training out to get the number right, or you have the executives who are just wooed by this smooth presentation, but they disconnected from the workers and how they actually process it. It's like we deal with the client, then we look at our mobile, then we look at the tablet. That workflow looks different than what the executives look at. So talk about this a little bit now, about this multi-party process of evaluating the solution to say if this is the right one. We can hire Shar and Brooke, but there's 3 other ones who gave us the cheaper price, and their building was bigger, and they have bigger billboards.
Yeah. A great salesperson will not only refuse to let you move forward with something that isn't going to be valuable to you, but they will also educate you on what to watch out for with everyone they're competing with, right? So using your example, like, hey, I know we're going to get to procurement, and your procurement department has a reputation for being a great negotiator. So here's what I would watch out for. The critical things that we need to keep in this proposal are A, B, and C. If we take out, D or E, there are workarounds you can come up with internally, but you need to keep your finger on the pulse to make sure that they understand these are the things that are critical, and without it, you can't move forward. And, here's what that would look like with us proactively. If we need to move down in price, here's where we would recommend doing it. It should be an open conversation and not a wheel and deal at the 9th hour in a quick email back and forth. And now nobody knows what got signed up for, what value it's going to bring, or what was sacrificed in that negotiation.
My favorite line, I thought that was included.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's an add-on. An add-on, what that mean? Or the other one is the role and responsibilities matrix. So we just offload it. Someone's going to do it. We need 20 people to do it. The original price where we did all the roles of 20 people, and then the new price where we do only 5. That means you got to do the other 15. And so what does that mean? We don't have 15 people. We gotta figure this out somehow.
And it's puzzling because, truthfully, whether you're in sales or you're in success or support or implementation, your company as a whole doesn't succeed unless your customers are happy and getting value from your product. So I'm not sure who that serves in the end, other than like a quick commission check and how long that's, going to go on and the company's going to survive. But we see it a lot. Like a lot of the turnarounds that Shar mentioned, we're brought in to clean up a mess like that, where
Yes.
something wasn't fully understood and they're dealing with the aftermath of that. And we come up with like, what is the practical solution that you can afford today? And then if we can unlock money through that solution, then you can have a portion of that go towards these then next highest priority
Yeah.
solutions.
It's funny if you look at like the standard proposals, and then compare that to the PowerPoint deck, compare that to the contract, they all look different. And so
Yeah.
when different teams on that side look at it, it looks different. And then even on the solution provider side, it may look different. And you get all these things floating around, and people kind of got their own vision of what this looks like. And at the end of the day, you come out and find out the problem wasn't solved. And you say,
Yeah.
who owned that?
Absolutely.
And then we look at this executive suite. Well, you guys created the incentive structure for procurement, get those extra points. And
Yep.
then you got the incentive program for the salespeople, and you got everybody running around, doing this and this. But then what is every a business meeting about? What the pipeline look like? What the numbers look like? Do we need to tweak this, that, and whatever? So let's talk about this full journey here, because it could be you losing customers potentially because of the experience. And experience just could be something that happened in the marketing or sales or product management or UX. There are so many different places where this can break down. And I think people have thought it's easy just to put the solution out there. Well, if you go and do your own solution, just put it out there without input, it is easy to get it on the shelf. But for the salesperson who has to go out and sell it, or the marketing person who had to get butts on the webinar to say, hey, let's do this. So let's talk about just the challenge of this entire journey here.
Yeah, for smaller companies, I will say some technical founders that we work with that are also newer to entrepreneurship or running their own business are pleasantly, or not pleasantly, I should say, very surprised when they're like, what do you mean? I built this entire product and it's so cool. I don't even need salespeople. This is just
Yes.
going to take itself to market. Those are my favorite people.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, this is not going to be a fun experience for you. Go try that and come back.
Yeah.
Or they'll be like, I talked to one person and they told me that this is so great. They pay money for it. And it is in an industry that we've been a part of where we're like, yep, that's just because you didn't get to due diligence and didn't go through security and you didn't go through these departments. You just talked to the marketing guy that was really excited about the solution, but you actually didn't go through the sales process. So that's not real data. That's not real feedback. We see that often kind of on the newer side. In the larger organizations, that absolutely happens in the exact way that you said, William, is there are specific structures that incentivize different areas of opportunity for different departments that are sometimes at odds with each other. We've actually been in organizations. There's an organization that Brooke and I worked at. It was actually the first company she hired me to work for her at. And we had a systematic issue between multiple departments where we had $1 million, literally a little over $1 million of book of business with clients saying, we need this service and we need to sign up now. But because of internal processes, we literally couldn't move fast enough to meet the timeline in an issue that could have been solved. And it was literally as a result of infrastructure that had been put in place, because what our services team was tracking, what sales was tracking, and what finance was tracking, all of those goals, if finance won, it actually meant that they lost or we lost, and vice versa. And so we see that quite often in different departments, and it's normally not a result of anyone wanting to have that, of course, happen. It's when you start to get very siloed and you're just solving for one piece of the problem instead of saying, if I solve for this here, how does that impact the overarching sense? And that's something that we see as a massive pitfall often, is especially leaders and especially in organizations where there's friction and not a lot of trust, and there's a lot of this person's fault, it's that person's fault. what often happens is people start just solving for their unit, their problem, their specific issue, instead of saying, I solve for this piece of it, but what happens in the other multiple departments. And that, I would say, is an actual specialty of ours, where when we come in and there's friction with turnaround teams, normally a lot of that friction starts with the processes. The processes are not incentivizing the right behavior, or they're incentivizing contradictory behavior.
And I think this is where we need the founder or the CEO or the C-suite to feel the pain. They should be hearing that customer at Starbucks complaining about it. Oh my God, we had this problem. We have the money. We can't find anybody to help us. And he or she should be going back to the office feeling bad about it because they actually have a solution for it. And by the way, that might be one of their current customers who just dropped them. And you got to ask themselves, what is our organization not structured to do? I think people think it's just, all you got to do is build the product, the solution service, and you're good to go. But underlining that is the ability to deliver it and then make sure the customer activated. And you need the right business model, the right culture, incentive structures, and become very, very complicated. And I think for the smaller startups and the other smaller companies, that's where frustration can build a well, because they locked in on just the solution. And they problem solve just to fix the solution, but they haven't solved the problem of actually delivering it. It's like, yeah, it's on the shelf over there, but they just can't reach it.
Yeah.
And that can be perfect.
We see that all the time. And a lot of those founders, executives, they're smart enough to understand the problem. They're really a lot of times overwhelmed by working on what they think is a larger problem, right? I want to keep the company afloat, so I have to be out there raising money. I want to bring this new feature to market, so I need to be participating in actually doing the coding and getting this feature shipped. And so when they're getting internal feedback like, oh, we have this one upset customer that, we promised this thing and they experienced it different. They're like, oh, it's one issue. And it's like, well, if we actually put that one issue on a report and we measure the frequency and the impact, this is very connected to the issue you're working on. So if we can solve this one issue that systematically happens all the time, the bigger issue you're working on is already half solved. So connecting those dots for people is a lot of times about like pulling them out of the executive cloud, right? Where it's like you're in meeting to meeting, back to back, you're doing all the things, all the plates are spinning, right? And saying, hey, come down here and let me show you these couple of little levers that are very tied to what you're working on that you have control over impacting today. Yes. And here's how it will help you with what else you're working on. Those are some of the aha moments that people need to have.
Well, that's getting to almost the essence of understanding the problem sufficiently enough. Got to understand the systematic nature of the problem. And like you said, the final little small levers, you got to intuitively know that and know that it's the way you package the product. So the users are getting it, they open it up, the manual's too small, it's too confusing. They threw a QR code on the back, you know, half the instruction on the QR code on the website, the other portions on the manual is too small. There's too much wrapping paper. And people are thinking, oh, wow, that's packaged and that's just some other department. That's no big deal. Once they open it up and use it, it's just like logging into the new system. Yeah, but then when they put the system inside the enterprise, then there's a governance team that said, you have to go through this due diligence, which is 6 months. They said, what does that mean? Well, your solution wants to grab all this data, and there's a privacy department. And by the way, the cybersecurity team, when it gets involved, because you want to store this somewhere else that we didn't do due diligence on. All of a sudden, they're like, oh, we didn't realize this. So it sounds like if the entrepreneur, the problem solver wants to actually even be more helpful, they can think about this ahead of time and how they position and design their solution. And this solution has to be designed in a certain way where we can actually support it ongoing basis. We can get it in, we can help you install it. Maybe we're going to charge you a certain amount and show you. You can install it yourself, which is going to take too long, but we're going to take this off your plate. We're going to scale this. We're going to take you all the way to the end. And I think you start to think about those new ideals and how you kind of develop your business over a period of time, that the winners in the market are going to be the ones who can actually do this faster. And I think it's unrelated to the technology and more related on the organizational side. How do you make sure you keep the money flowing, the business flowing, and the people happy? And I think it'll lead to kind of a big issue we're having now is the leadership gap, where a lot of folks are even younger, right? They're in these leadership roles and they don't understand people and its dynamics. Like, hey, Josh, just do it. I just told you, man. I gave you a 15-minute speech. I sent the PowerPoint deck out. We did some enablement training. You guys should be good internally. What's the problem? Just go do it.
Yeah, I wrote the Slack message. Everyone didn't read that and like take it to heart and imagine what that would look like.
So this darn people problem. So you got a people problem on the problem side, on the solution side, and the delivery side. So this isn't for the faint of heart. I think when you think about running a business, how difficult this is. But if we want to, keep listening to these unmet needs, it's like, okay, there's opportunity here.
Yeah.
Even if they have an established partner there already. So if you guys wanted to innovate anything like that to kind of grab at you, anything that stands out, they say, you know what, people should be spending more time on this particular problem. It could be on the solution side, design side, delivery side, or just the experience. Because I would love to have a fantastic selling experience. People come out and say, that was enjoyable.
Yeah. If you have created an enjoyable selling experience, what you have actually done is you've created a phenomenal buying experience. Nobody likes to be sold. Everyone likes to buy, and there's different buying processes, whether it's I am at the mall and something is in that perfect location where it catches my eye, it's styled with something else and I can grab it, and there's ease that comes with that. Or whether that is a much larger, experience or issue that is being solved for. Going back to what you were saying with people, there's all the talk of AI and technology and everything that's coming out. But at the end of the day, there's people, and there are people problems in all organizations. So a lot of what we will focus on is some of the areas that you were talking about. Brooke just made a joke about divvying something up via Slack messages. Yes. I can't tell you the amount of times that we'll have that conversation where someone will be like, what do you mean though? I've told them. And then we say, but have they seen it 14 times? Because that's actually what it takes for somebody to grab new information. Have you taught it to them in their learning language? Are they audible? Because if they're audible and you send them a PowerPoint, they never read it. Are they someone that's visual? Because if they're visual and you told them, it doesn't matter if you told them 10 times, it didn't happen. Are they kinesthetic? Because if they're kinesthetic and they didn't get a chance to actually click themselves, they're going to walk out and it's not going to land. Are they digital? Because if they're digital, they don't care about your analysis. Give them the 1-page slide, but they're going to want to know the data. They want to dive in there. They're going to want to know the logic. So how are you solving the different problems? And then you take that small sector and multiply it by the different people and the different departments and the different personality types that get drawn to different, problems in a business to solve, whether you're a finance personality that loves everything structured or a sales personality that can thrive in chaos and, maneuver conversations. Well, those two personality types are at odds, but they serve a function within a business. How do you actually get those people problems to work within each other? If you can understand people, you can do anything around that. And something I actually want to throw it to Brooke and have her share a little bit about this, because sometimes the friction that happens within people trying to solve something is a person against a person. It's personality types, but often the friction is a result of the way that systems are set up, and people just associate that with problems. Oh, sales always tells customers that there's a unicorn in the product. Implementation always pushes back on us trying to close a deal. Finance never gives us the budget for blah, blah, blahs, right? So it's always like, here's what they're doing and how it's impacting me. But I actually would love to throw it to Brooke around when you come in and you're looking at friction that is happening with people, how does process actually play into that?
That's a great question. I think one of the top things we find is data is held in different systems. So it's reported in a slightly different way. Therefore, the end user understanding is slightly different of that thing. I would say the second one is not even understanding what that person does for their role. Everyone thinks sales, like your phone rings and someone's like, yeah, I'd like to buy stuff. And you're like, amazing. So do you want to pay $10 or 20? 20? Amazing. Cool. Well, you'll get a free unicorn with that. So I'm going to send you to implementation, right? So sometimes it's about how do you help other departments, other functions feel what it's like to be in someone else's shoes. Like, let's actually look at this issue that you brought to me together. So I did some investigation. Let's listen to this part of the call together. What did you hear? What did I hear? Awesome. Why did they say that? Let me give you the context behind why they said that only a sales team member would know, because they have this role, this approval process. This is on the marketing materials. Here are all of the reasons that thing exists. And on the other side, like, what is implementation? What is step one? What is step two? What does aligning with the customer look like? How often does the customer literally delete their brain when they get to implementation and they thought that came with it? Or I thought that this was the solution that had this. Well, guess what? They looked at 10 products. So they probably aren't going to remember it 100% accurately a few weeks later when they've been to 100 meetings between now and then either. So it is about helping people talk to one another and consider one another and think about what's actually happening instead of what's the easy answer for how this could be someone else's fault.
And that brings up a fantastic insight here around innovation, where you can innovate beyond just the product itself. You can innovate the way you deliver, innovate the org structure, innovate the way people interact with each other through incentive programs and culture and communication. There's a lot of opportunity literally every single day. But I know some organizations get caught into just the finger pointing and like, marketing, why don't you guys send us some more leads here? What's going on here? And then product people, we're falling behind our competitors. Our competitors added these new features, and my biggest accounts are asking for it. What's going on? So I think about this now turning the entire organization into problem solvers and giving them permission and freedom, as opposed to slapping their hand like, hey, stop causing trouble there. Just close your deal. We'll fix that later.
Exactly.
And you can always tell, right? The sanity check is the original problem that they gave you money for, was it solved? Kind of a simple solution. In many cases, it has not been solved. And they may still continue to spend money with that organization over and over again. And I obviously get opportunity for the competitor to be like, I think something, you guys might be crazy over there, but you're spending a lot of money and time. They still haven't fixed the problem. I don't think they understand the problem well enough. You may want to take a look at something else. And I think that for small startups, this gives a lot of opportunity to go out there and go from very small to very large very quickly. Because you become known in the industry as, hey, this thing was stuck in the mud, and we called Shar and Brooke, and all of a sudden, 6 months later, things got moving. And then what was promised was delivered. And it could be you just unlock something very small, which gets into a very interesting point now, because when we price solutions, services are notorious for doing hourly rates. So it's going to take us $100. So we do this. So we forgot the number. I don't know. Have you seen more and more value priced pricing? Because maybe the problem is it's a $20 million problem. So if it takes Brooke and Shar 3 hours to fix it, you should still get the $20 million, right? It shouldn't be, we're going to charge you guys only for 3 hours or 20 hours. So let's talk about this whole value-based pricing. Because I think a lot of times people are thinking, well, you guys are taking less time to go do it, so we're going to pay you less. Like, well, if we didn't come in, the problem would still be there. So we're going to charge you appropriately what that problem was costing you.
Yeah, that's a great question. And pricing is something that it really depends who you're selling to, what they're asking for, what they prefer, what their organization will do. But I would say hourly is a trap because it's really difficult to give an accurate estimate before you've gotten your hands on everything. The customer said, this is the problem I need to solve. But then you get in there and you're like, oh my gosh, you have a custom integration that's overriding everything that we didn't know about. And, you don't have an admin to do anything in the system. And so how are things going to be moving forward? Or the people who want to just give me one price for fixing this thing can also be a trap, right? So we often marry those two things together where it's like, we're going to get our hands in there a little bit first through sort of like, a strategy session. Like, let us learn more. Let us ask the right questions. Let us click around and see what we see to help guide a more realistic conversation about here's what you're probably looking at. And it could take this much time or it could take this much time, depending on what we find, how we do it, how much participation we get from you. A lot of times your client's participation is critical to moving things forward, and you can't predict if they're saying they're definitely going to do that, whether or not they're actually going to get super busy and not have time for that, or if they're going to be that, great participant that shows up to all of the check-ins with all the homework done and all the people chatted with. So we do kind of a hybrid model for a lot of things where it's very unclear. For things where we've got templates and our combined 40 years of experience allowed us to create a template that solves a 2-month problem in a week, you will pay us more than an hourly rate for that, right?
Nice. I like it. Yeah, because it's funny. I think we were years ago where the whole plant was down, and it was something with the network connection. And we went out there. We started in 15 minutes, and we building for an hour and travel. We got back to the office, and the manager like, "That's all." Their entire business was down. It was a simple cable connection, but it was locked into that mindset. It's just we trading time for effort, but not for value. I think there's right now there's a lot of people out there who'd be willing to spend even more money if they get a better assurance that their problems actually going to be solved, or at least addressed differently. Yeah.
Absolutely. People are willing to pay for problems to be solved. The thing that makes it challenging for them to move forward, especially very intelligent people, is, can you truly solve my problem? And in order for you to do that, are you competent? Do you understand the problem? Can you take in a lot of information? Do you have the actual skill set to solve this? Do we have the resources to actually solve this problem entirely? And when they meet someone who fully gets it, gets them, gets their business, gets the problem, there isn't really a lot of friction around money. The friction around money often arises when there's some sort of trepidation of like, this is not the right resource. Because once people find this is the solution that will solve my problem, again, it goes back to people love buying stuff. If I can throw money at a problem to go away, that normally, especially for entrepreneurs and leaders, that normally is one of the fastest and easiest ways, and one of the least expensive ways of solving it. Because often the cost of the problem being ongoing will cost you more than the right solution if you have the right partners.
Yeah, a lot of horror stories where a company would send out like a 5-person team to the meeting, and as a customer, the prospect is asking questions. The 5 people can't answer the question. Then they got to remote somebody in virtually, and then they can't answer the question. Then you get to we'll get back to you. We got to research that, and then all of a sudden, the confidence from the prospect is dropping that you guys can do what you say you can do. Now reflecting on you that you guys aren't ready to actually be ready. So the salesperson and the sales engineer and the architect is all the internal people who handle paperwork. It looks like you guys haven't spent enough time to actually design this experience that everybody on your team is not ready to roll. Because assuming you spend a lot of time building solutions, so you should like know all the ins and outs, what the options look like. And I think that's where a lot of companies kind of fall short. They're still working this traditional model. It's going to take us 10 people and then maybe 6 months to get rolling. It's like, you guys been in business forever, got a large team. Because I think when you see the small companies look up, they say, oh man, I wish we had more resources.
Yeah.
Well, even with companies with more resources, you can still get the same clunky experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you guys want to like marry your business with Trader Joe's? I'm thinking about this. Like you buy some items and all of a sudden there's a problem shelf like, hey, they can help.
That would be a great way to pick up new clients. You come to the problem shelf, you select your problem, and we dive into a conversation.
And they can just be testimonials, right? And just the key inputs, X amount of money, X amount of time, effort, and the problem was solved. Or problem was solved differently than we thought because we understood the problem better. It'll make it quicker. Ooh, we might need to design that.
Absolutely.
Trader Traders Tech, Trader Solution. I'm going to come up with a tagline or a business for that.
We'll look forward to it. We'll look forward to seeing what you come up with.
Yes. Okay. I'll take that as an action item. Is there anything we haven't covered from innovation? And so we like to talk about frontline innovation. I think that's the key piece. Frontline is if you're hearing this angst, this frustration, this pain point, and you think you might be able to help out, we want to at least feel good that if we're going to say yes and offer it to you and sell it to you and deploy it for you, we can come back months later and say, it did the job, right? And I think that's run into problems when it came back and it didn't do the job and there's something missing here. So go back and reiterate, innovate better until you get it right. But we don't want you to be doing that for 5 years now, because technically speaking, your solution on the website said you guys can fix this problem.
Yeah, no, I think we covered people, process, product. It all is as simple as that. If you treat those three things with diligence and care and you invest in them and you go deep on all of them, that's the way that you solve the problems.
Absolutely agree.
I love it. Do you think we should have special capes that say problem solvers on the back?
No, because we wouldn't be able to go out in public without getting attacked.
That's true. That's very true. That is
you know what? Because people will keep throwing money at you. It's, oh my God, look at the capes on. Here,
yeah. That is very true. I know we are closing here now. The only thing I would say is exactly what Brooke said, and also not taking people's money. There's quite often that we'll meet with folks and we get off a call and they're like, great, we'd love to hire you. And we're like, no, you're actually not ready for this solution. You can give us all the money, but it's not going to make your problem go away, because your problem isn't something for us to take on. It's you need to go do X, or you need to go fix this, or it's something with you personally. So it's being in a space where you are only creating the deal when there is that value created and you can do things is what makes people trust you. But we so appreciate you having us on this podcast. It's been so fun getting a chance to chat about innovation and leaning into different problems. And you made our brains also start thinking differently. I'm going to think about Trader Joe's and probably go to Trader Joe's later today.
There we go. Well, I appreciate your time today. It's been a fun conversation.
Agreed.
Of course. Great to see you.
We're excited to see what else you do. We're going to be watching, both the podcast and what you're doing with the business.
All right. Much more to come. That has been another episode of the Frontline Innovation Podcast. Thank you for your time. Innovation doesn't end with a great idea or a product on the shelf. It continues through the realization that someone's problem was fixed after they used the solution. If this episode helped you see a problem more clearly or think differently about how solutions reach the front lines, share it with someone who's doing that work alongside you. And if you're building, designing, selling, or supporting solutions meant to last, subscribe to the Frontline Innovation Podcast, the voice of problem solvers. Because progress isn't driven by ideals alone. It's built by those willing to dismantle problems and do the work that follows. Until next time, stay on the front line and go dismantle a human problem.